And one of the favourite fairy tales of white liberals, left-wingers and anti-racists is that before the coming of the white man to Africa, the continent was some kind of primeval paradise where people lived largely peaceful lives in tune with nature. By this reading of the situation, it was the invasion of Africa by greedy and aggressive white men which caused all the trouble and violence. If only we had left them alone, then they would have developed civilizations of their own, ones which might have been more gentle and less violent and expansionist than the colonial system of 19th century Britain. I love this vision of Africa, but it is, I'm afraid, a complete fiction. Before Europe colonised the place, Africa was a perfect example of what Thomas Hobbes saw as the state of society without a proper civil government, with the life of man nasty, brutish and short. In fact, thousands of times more Africans died in wars and famines caused by black Africans in the 19th century than were killed by white Europeans. The rise of the Zulu king Shaka, for instance, between 1816 and 1828, resulted in an estimated 2 million deaths. This dwarfs by many times the number of deaths as a result of European colonisation. It may interest viewers to know that when white people began colonising what is now South Africa, there were hardly any black people in the area. This was one of the last strongholds of the Xhosa, sometimes known as the Bush people, who had been all but exterminated in the rest of Africa by the expansion of the Bantus from West Africa, a process which took several thousand years. In fact, most black South Africans today are the descendants of refugees who fled to the white colony seeking protection from the devastation wrought by Shaka and his Zulus. They felt safer in white ruled areas than they did in those parts of Africa where black rulers held sway. I have published a piece on this episode on my Substack, which is of course free to read. I give a link to it in the description to this video. I rather fancy that viewers will find it of interest when thinking about the nature of European colonialism in Africa, which was by and large a blessing for the black people rather than a curse.